Did
We
it.
are live, Substack. Hi, everyone. I'm doing my live voice instead of my real voice.
Said your real voice, like my podcast voice.
Right.
Hello and
Hi,
welcome.
my name's Sherelle. Welcome to Mastering Soul Contracts. Sorry. Hi, Monet. Oh, hello. You're on and you saw me being silly. You kind of know what I'm like, Monet. So, yeah, you probably won't be surprised. So, I had a conversation with one of my best friends and fellow entrepreneurs, Lauren Smith, earlier today. And I was saying that I feel really tired and I've got a lot to do. And we were just like chopping it up as usual. And we got onto one of our favorite subjects, which is past lives. And I was like, Lauren, how are you doing for time? Can you jump on a live with me in about an hour? And as any best friend would, here she is. So I want to introduce you, for those of you who do not know Lauren or haven't met Lauren. This is Lauren Smith. She is a podcaster of Master Your Mind, Business and Life, and Awaken Your Soul. She is a marketing maven, having run her own social media agency and now working as a marketing strategist with local brands in the States and spiritual brands around the world. And just one of my besties. Like, I talk to Lauren about everything, and Lauren talks to me about
We're
everything.
halfway
And
besties too.
we share a bit of a passion, and that passion is past lives. And the reason we have this passion is because we discovered a few years ago that we share at least one, if not maybe like two or three past lives. So I just thought it'd be really useful to get on, have a live, have a little conversation, talk about our past life connection, how we discovered it, how we figured it out, and what has happened since, because it's been a roller coaster of a journey. But also just to I always like to make things useful. I'm Taurus rising, right? My whole essence is how useful is this information? I just want people to be able to like connect the dots for themselves. So, what are the signs? How do you know it's definitely a past life connection? Why do you have a past life connection in this lifetime? And how can you work with that connection as far as like your purpose and just living your highest good? So before I get into all of that, just a little bit of housekeeping. I'm actually getting better at doing these things. So later on today at 4 p.m. UTC, which is UK time, I'm hosting the first of my talks for the spring equinox season, which is for paid subscribers only on Substack. So if you've not paid to join Substack, it's really cheap. It's something like, I don't want to be dismissive when I say it's really cheap. I'm Taurus rising, bear with me. But it's something like $88 a year, $9 or $11 a month. So, and when you pay, you get additional content. You have access to some really in-depth presentations that I'm doing. And this season, this spring equinox season, is a series of talks on work, money, and love and relationships, looking at soul contracts, past lives, and astrology, and how we can use those tools, bring them all together to really help us to end the suffering. You have to excuse my lisp. I've got a lisp, but we'll talk about that in a second. To end the suffering and just really move your life forward in the best way possible. And then starting on the 30th of March, which is this weekend, which is right on time for the second eclipse of this eclipse tunnel, the partial solar eclipse in Aries, I am starting the Mastering Soul Contracts group program, which is a 6-week program. And there are still a couple of spaces available if anybody wants to join and find out more about past lives, their karma, how they can arrive at their dharma in this lifetime, and just learn a little bit about astrology and what's going on for you and how you can develop these tools for yourself, develop your intuition so that you can always live your best life. Okay, so that's the housekeeping done. welcome Lauren. Say hi.
Hey, sorry, my internet glitched out for a second. Go figure. Mercury
Oh,
being Mercury
okay.
right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Mercury
didn't know if it
retrograde
kicked me
hits
off.
us
I
really hard.
had to turn off my Wi-Fi on my phone. I wish it would let me do this from a computer. It would be.
Yeah, there's this thing where Substack only allows you to do lives on your phone. I don't know if they're developing that. It is still really new, but yeah, it would be a little bit easier on the
Yeah,
laptop. But here we are, making the
here
most of it.
here we are. Here we
So,
are.
so Lauren and I first met. What year was it, Lauren? Lauren's really good at dates and keeping the important information because she's a Virgo moon.
We
Um,
always. I feel like we always have to do this in our brains because it feels like it's forever ago. In the same breath, it doesn't feel like it was that long
feels
ago.
like it was like a couple of months. Yeah.
So I think it was June 2016. I think that's right. I think it was June 2016.
Wow. I thought we were in like 7 or 8 years. That would make it
Almost
9
10.
years this year.
It's our 9 year. It's our 9 year.
And we
See?
are life path nines. Both Lauren and I are life path nines. This year's a 9 year, 2025. And this will be the ninth year of us
Yeah.
knowing each other. What is going to happen? My
I don't know.
God.
Reunited. That's what's
It
gonna
feels
happen.
so good.
That's what's gonna happen. Yeah, so
Wow.
I think like that
I've,
that
I've
whole
been,
Prague trip
I was going to
was
say, I've been thinking about that though. Like, so here's the thing that's really interesting is that, like, when I've spoken to people about you before, like they've been like, so have you actually met Lauren? Like, do you know each other? So, like, I'm
yeah.
obviously based in the UK, Lauren's based in the States. And it's like, yeah, we met.
Yeah,
Yes,
we met.
we
We
met.
didn't just meet. We
We
changed shoes in the
collided.
middle of a town. Like,
We collided. And it's just, it's one of those stories where it's like you could make it up, but it wouldn't be as good as the real life version. But it's one of
yeah,
those things where it's like, I didn't know this was going to happen. Like, we couldn't have known what was going to come out of this. But
no.
essentially, Lauren and I both have a media background, and we had been hired by, I want to say mutual. Like, I'd never worked with her before. Lauren had worked with this person before. And we'd both been hired on
But
this
just
pretty,
recently. Like I didn't like work with her for like years. I had just worked with her like in those months prior. Like,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't even
So
like I knew
she's
her for like a long
effectively a
time.
stranger. Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
have like a relationship with her. We'd both been hired for this pretty big, significant project. And it was obviously being done remotely. Like, there were quite a few people on the project as well. I think that's important. There's probably like a dozen people working on this project.
Yeah, within our team, I think there was at least like seven on our immediate team.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like a pretty significant project. I think I was one of the later hires. I think some people are already on board. Um, and the client that the person that hired us was working with was actually based out in Prague. But even then, that team was a group of people from like all over Europe, like lots of different places. And it was like, it was effectively like this big marketing crowdfunding project, right? We both have like a lot of entrepreneurial background. We both have a media background, and it seemed really exciting. I had refused this project about 5 times. Like, every time she tried to hire me, I was like, no, I'm really busy. I'm working on something else. And I just kept saying no. And she just kept coming back. And I was like, what is it about this project? Like, she won't give up. So I was like, okay, let's go. I start working on this project. There were many plans in place before I came on board. One of those plans was it like three of you to go and meet the guys in Prague?
So I don't really feel like I was looped in on that plan until I feel like it all happened rather quickly.
Hmm.
Um because I feel like when you came in, I hadn't come in that much before, like maybe like a week before you, because I was a little
Oh,
like,
really?
because I didn't know if I wanted to work with her again.
Right, right. I didn't
So
know that.
yeah, so like, and because I was bringing my people with me, I
Yeah,
wanted sure. So yeah, it was probably like a week or two. In fact, I'm not even sure we did a full team call until you were on it that first time.
right. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I think yeah. So like, I'm not even
Yeah,
sure we knew the
yeah.
extent of it. So it was all pretty.
So,
It was all pretty new. Then.
so effectively, what had happened was there was a plan for the person that ran the project, Lauren, and another person on the project to go to Prague to meet the main client. Now, something happened in between where the third person, for whatever reason, and that's a long story, but anyway, had dropped out. And
Yeah,
I was
like
notified
the day before we were flying. The day before we were flying,
the day
she
before.
dropped
Oh,
out.
wow.
Oh.
Right. And so
Yeah, yeah,
the person that was running the project really wanted like three people. She wanted to show that the team was like solid, that we're all really experienced. So because I was in the UK, she was like, "You're in Europe. That's close to Prague. Can you come?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" Right. So I got there a day later, last minute, like just jumped on a flight, turn up in Prague, and it was really weird. But this is obviously like the first time we met in real life. I meet the person running the project and I'm like, okay. I meet Lauren and we almost immediately just like start joking, burst into fits of laughter. We were completely unprofessional on this whole project. We just had the
yeah,
best time. Like, we just had the same sense of humor. We'd never met. And it was like, just like, I mean, like crying tears of laughter, like weeping at the stupidest things, the smallest comments, and the click, like the connection was instant. And bearing in mind, we're working with billionaires, like ex military. These people were from like Croatia, France, like Ireland, from all over Europe. These were like some really heavy hitters. And we researched them later, so we know it's true. Because some people
yeah.
were kind of
And
like
we're just
ghosts. Yeah. And we're like, and they've like brought us into this beautiful hotel, where is it Mozart lived or something?
yeah, it was yeah. Mozart composed a few pieces there, so like they call it Mozart Palace, or I'm pretty sure they've renamed it, but that's what it's
Yeah.
known as.
And it was like the most beautiful place. And there was obviously like a lot of money and really important people. And they all took themselves very seriously. And me and Lauren are sitting there like sniggering like little schoolgirls, like chuckling at the stupidest jokes. And they're like giving us these tours of Prague and like we're doing all these things. And it's just like for no reason. But we just clicked and hit it off straight away. And I remember Lauren saying to me, I don't know what it is, but I'm always seeing the number 11. And I'm obviously straight into, oh, well, you know what the number 11 is. Like, she's like,
Yeah,
whoa. Like,
yeah,
so we just start doing this whole kind of, I don't know, like familiar reconnection, just like really
yeah.
easy
Like a life
getting
chat
on.
almost. Like
Yeah,
it was like a
yeah,
quick blurb about like our life, and it was like, oh, that same as me, and that,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
happened really quick.
Yeah. And just to give you a little bit of context, it was like there were these three women, never met before, complete strangers. We were sharing a hotel room, which was effectively a suite, but still, I am not that girl. I would have been like demanding my own room. We just got on with it. We were like chill. We just had the best time. Like the whole, it was like a week, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 4 days,
5 days.
5
Okay.
days. Yeah,
The whole time just like getting on. I don't even remember how much work we did. Like we tried, but we were just like exploring Prague.
yeah,
Um, but we had these initial conversations where I don't know if we got into astrology at that point, but it was things like we had these similarities with our grandparents. Like we both had a grandmother that was born on Christmas Day. Like we both had a grandfather who was like a pastor of a church, and just all these things. And like Lauren's mum's got the same name as me, even though it's spelled differently. And it was like, who is this person? Why do we have all of these like similarities going on? And it was like, you go home and you think, oh, that was cool, and we're just going to work together. The project fell apart within weeks.
I, I mean, I left Prague knowing I was done. Like my airplane ride home solidified everything I needed to know. But I mean, as someone who's like listening, is like, well, why? I watched the girl who brought us in on the project buy really expensive shoes with the company card, and then my ad budget bounced the next day, and that's why I was like, no, like morally, ethically, something's not right
No.
about this. And then it ended up falling apart. But important context for being in Prague itself, while we're putting together all these pieces and we're getting these tours, you and I are walking downstairs of this palace, and they're giving us like this grandiose, tour, and like they're being very professional. I had
Yeah.
this like life flashback. Like, and I'll never
Yeah.
forget because I was singing to you and I was like, we'll never be royal. And like we're giggling,
Yeah.
but I have this like moment. I was like, I've been here before. I
Yeah.
knew I had walked those stairs before. It wasn't even like I've been in Prague, which when I got to Prague and I had just traveled with someone I didn't know who was kind of an aggressive travel partner.
Yeah.
I think that's just the best word to
With
describe it.
with
Aggressive.
anxiety issues.
Yes. And so like me being like a completely new country, I felt at home. And leading up to me meeting you, I was awakening to more spiritual stuff but I didn't know
Hmm.
in the moment. I had a very spiritual client, and she's using things like awakening and consciousness and metamorphosis and blah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, lady, like I'm just creating content. Like it didn't resonate with me,
Hmm.
but I was aware to it. So then when
Yeah.
I'm telling you about the 11 and just like how crazy it is, you're now connecting my dots. Like I'm having those little
Right.
aha moments that I didn't really have with my previous client because you're making it make sense and resonate for me. So
Right.
I go home and I'm like, y'all, I just met the craziest lady in Prague and I love her so much. But I don't think like astrology even came up until months after that.
Yeah.
Like
For a little while.
it was definitely a
Yeah.
progression, like almost like a 2-year progression of like
Just
unfolding.
continual discovery and just like
Yeah.
peeling back the layers and just gaining all of this understanding. And it was like, to your point about being comfortable in Prague, I just, I have certain locations where it's not even like falling in love. It just is like going home.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am just so comfortable instantly. And I
Yeah.
remember when we first saw the clock, which was all about astrology, I was like geeking out. I'm like, this is where the clock is. Because it's like you see it on pictures, but I didn't know it was in Prague. And
Yeah.
then we saw the Cinderella's Palace, like the
Yes.
original. And we
Yes.
were like, whoa. And then the buildings are like gilded in gold. I'm like, is this a real place? Like,
Yeah.
and one of my favorite crystals, it's actually a tektite, is Moldavite, which is from Prague. And I have been through so much Moldavite, but I'm always like coming back. Oh, I have another piece of Moldavite, or like I'll try and like protect it or whatever. But there's this knowing. It's really, if you felt that, you just kind of know, like you'll step foot, you get off the plane, get off a boat, train, whatever, you'll step foot in a location and you'll be like, yeah, you almost feel as though you know where you're going.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like, where am I? Like you don't get those chills or whatever. You just feel really grounded and
Right.
comfortable straight off. And I'm a really paranoid person. Like I've got
Oh,
security alerts going off 24/7. In
oh, I always
Prague,
think I'm gonna be
I was like
kidnapped.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so easy. Like there was one night, like so one of the main clients that had hired the team, he was like doing acting as tour guide and he was taking us around and we were going for a walk and whatever. And we were walking ages and I was like, oh, my feet are really hurting. And Lauren had slippers on, like these little really comfy sandals. And I had it was the shortest heel, but I was just really rubbish at walking in heels. And I was like, oh, your sandals look so good. And she was like, what size are you? We're the same shoe size, like just one more thing. And she was like, you can wear my sandals. I was like, you can wear my shoes. And we swapped shoes and just walked
I'm
through
walking through
Prague.
Prague in like short shorts and these boots. And I just didn't care. Like,
Kitten heel ankle boots and like Daisy Dukes. And I'm like
yeah.
having the best time with these cushioned, comfy sandals. But I'm not that girl. I would just not do that, especially with a complete stranger. I would just like either go home or just like
Yeah,
suck it
normally I
up.
wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have been
There's
like,
no
here, you can
way.
have
There's
my
no
shoes.
way. We're both like strong Virgos, right? We're not
Yeah.
doing that.
Take
We're
my
like,
shoes
get your
off. Get
own,
your foot fungus out of here.
right? And
I
it was
know.
just these little moments of like feeling unbelievably comfortable, but almost like it felt quite purposeful. I just knew that I didn't go to Prague of my own accord. It wasn't a trip. It wasn't even on my bucket list. It wasn't like, I want to go to Prague or I have to go. It was like completely facilitated for both of us. We just arrived, we collide. The connection was unbelievable. But there were certain points during the trip and even like spots of walking around where you would just feel almost like these shock waves
Yeah.
coming through. It's like, oh, and I just think it's more than deja vu, but it's very similar, where you
Yeah.
do have like these little flashes of almost like inspiration or a knowing, or almost like I know what's going to happen next, and then it happens. Um, and that was our meeting, and ever since, and it's really interesting because at the time Lauren lived in Florida, and I since the age of, I don't know, however young, had always been like going to Florida, like almost every year, because I have a lot of family there. And it was like, well, we didn't meet in Florida. We had to go to Prague to meet.
Yeah.
Like, and we didn't meet on like any other like media project. It was like this weird nothing project that didn't come
Yeah.
to
I
anything,
didn't, nothing
didn't
amounted.
materialize.
Yeah.
It was like a very nothing kind of project.
Yeah.
And that trip was obviously just for us to connect. And just to give a little bit more context in terms of astrology, so I'm Virgo sun, Lauren's Virgo moon. I'm Taurus rising, which is Venus ruled, and Lauren's Libra rising, which is Venus ruled. And then I'm a Capricorn moon and Lauren's Capricorn sun. So in
We're the same.
the same gap, like there are a lot
We're,
of us. We
yeah.
think the same, we just
Yeah.
work in very similar ways. Like there are some things that are just unspoken where it's like, oh, it's got to be this. Like that's just how I work. And even discovering that we worked in similar ways and had a similar outlook and perspective on things was really interesting. And it just felt like, how have I only just met you? Like we both have like two daughters. Like it's
That
endless.
are
Like,
the same years apart.
yeah,
They're the same age gap apart.
endless. And
Yeah.
even like without going too much into their details, like my oldest daughter's a Leo moon, your daughter's a Leo moons, like there are all these things, and it's like there are no mistakes. It's just
Yeah.
a case of, follow the urges, the inspiration, and the work that has transpired since Lauren and I connecting is I've completely left corporate life behind. Lauren has left a lot of your work behind. And we
Yeah.
are, I mean,
So
at this point, I'm like,
we're
I would
free
say
falling. We're
80%
over
of my
here.
work is all spiritual. And at
Yeah.
first, I was hiding this work because I was still so corporate. And it was like, I don't know, just like the
Well,
energies coming
yeah.
together.
I mean, I didn't even know that you were a medium until you were giving me a medium reading. And I was like, what is happening right now? So, yeah. So, like, you were very I mean, I knew you were spiritual because like we would have these talks, but I didn't
You didn't
know
know
the
how spiritual.
I didn't know, but also in all of that I started learning stuff about myself and my gifts and hey, those like little flashes that I see, like it's not
All the
deja vu, I'm having a
premonitions.
premonition. Right.
Yeah,
So like those things I just no one had taught me, or I was seeing things when I was younger and society starts squashing it. But I'm not even
yeah.
sure I knew that I didn't connect us in a past life. I mean, I know we always joked about it. We were
Hmm.
like, oh, past lives, but it didn't really click and resonate for me until I think it was like 2019. I was talking to a podcast guest, Julie Ryan, and she is a medical intuitive. So, what she does primarily is she gets downloads for medical devices that are used all around the globe in operating rooms. She sees
Yeah,
them. She then has an engineering degree and she creates them. But she's also like doing readings for people, right? So we're on this
yeah.
podcast together and we're talking about past lives. And she's telling me how she, in her mind, can see how many past lives you have. And for her, it's a dark hallway with different doors. And she was like, so just like really quickly, Lauren, one door that's opening up for you is she was like, I'm getting that you've lived 17 lifetimes in Prague. And I'm like,
And 17's one of my numbers, by the way.
17, yes.
And
Yeah.
one of your daughter's numbers, and your brother-in-law has the same birthday as me, who
Which is
has
how we
passed.
connected.
We'll get onto that. Yeah,
Yeah. So when she had told me that, I was just like, of course it was a pet. Like, of course I have to go
yeah.
to Prague. So to me, that like kind of started me in this like spiral because I wasn't trying to share all of my business on a podcast
On the
moment, right?
podcast, you're getting this
But like
hit.
I'm pretty
You're
sure in
like,
that moment I was
whoa.
probably typing you like, oh my God.
Yeah,
And you're like, well,
yeah,
duh. Like,
yeah, yeah. So one of the things that happened is that I've known since the age of like 2, maybe, about my gifts, and I'd always kept it to myself. I used it in work to help me like do deals because I was like doing lots of sponsorship and things in media, but I didn't publicly like offer my services. And one day, Laura and I were just on the phone talking, and her brother-in-law, who had passed many years ago, just showed up in my living room, and he was like, "Tell her I'm here," and I was like, "No." He was like, "Tell her I'm here." I'm like, "No." So I'm like, "Lauren, I don't know how to explain this, but there's somebody here." I describe him. I think you started crying immediately or very soon after.
well, I was well first when you said there's a man here, I was like, "Are you okay?" Like, do I need to call someone? What do you mean a man is there? No context. There's no context to this. So
I don't
you're
know how
saying like
to
there's
tell
a
you
man
this.
here, but then you start telling me things that don't really resonate to me personally.
Hmm.
Resonate for it was a brother's, like, yeah, but like the message wasn't for me until you start saying things that like are clicking for me, and I was like, oh my God, that's Tyler. Like,
Yeah,
that is, I mean, he's saying things that no one knew, right? Like, I mean,
yeah.
like no one knew. So
That I didn't
that
know, definitely.
no,
Yeah,
I mean things that like I'd never told anybody like were coming up,
yeah,
and like then like my whole body is just, I mean, every hair on my body standing up. There was no doubting it. And I just remember going to bed that night after Junior and I like discussed, because then he's making more sense of everything else that like I couldn't. He's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, that and this and that and that.
So it's
And I
Junior's
just,
brother who is your partner. Yeah,
yes. So we're just like laying there and my mind was blown. I could not sleep that night because I was shook. I mean, I was shook of I had never experienced a reading, one, but it was nothing like I thought it was gonna be, right? And I don't think
yeah.
I'm not sure our readings are normal sometimes anyway. But
They're very ET. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So that was how I
And then
then
we found out. So his name's Tyler. My grandson's name is Tyler, and I chose his name.
yeah.
Like, and not because like I was being bossy like, my daughter had given me a couple of options, said, you choose. And I'd like researched it and I was like, great name. And then I find out that Tyler, who had come through, shares my birthday. And I was like, what? Like, the phone just flashed. Okay. Thanks,
Yeah, mine
Tyler.
it just went completely black on my end.
Yeah. So it was like a green light on my end. Um, and I was like, this, I know that there are no coincidences, but sometimes you think, oh, it's just a coincidence. Definitely not.
No.
And that was just another example of like a connection and just like, there are no mistakes. Like, why are you here? What did you do in a previous life? What are you here to do in this life? We just have a connection that, first of all, provides a ton of guidance for both of us. Um, it's so weird that we have almost like I definitely have some kind of connection with the area in the States where Lauren's from. Lauren's
Mhm.
background is definitely British. Like, we just kept finding these connections over and over again.
I'm
But
more
what I'd
British
say
than you
is,
are.
say that again.
I said I'm more British than you are. Like,
Mm,
I'm English.
100%.
I'm
I'm like
proper.
Irish. I'm like
Yeah.
Irish, as a Ashkenazi Jew. Like, I've got like three different African nationalities in me. Like, I have very small amount of like English blood in me.
Yeah.
Like, I should be in the Emerald Isle right now.
Yeah.
But and it was like all these things kept happening. And I can safely say that at this point, this is like years in of doing tons of reading. So Lauren and I often just like sit and we'll just do what seems to be a spontaneous reading. It's never spontaneous. It definitely aligns with like moon phases and that sort of thing. But they give us like huge amounts of guidance. And sometimes it's like personal, but other times it's like stuff that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
And it just is endless. But I do think that if we hadn't connected in Prague, I'm not sure that I would be doing the work that I'm doing, because even like developing the confidence and the effort, let's go energy, I credit a ton of that to Lauren, because Lauren was like, oh, this is what you do. Here's my mum, my
Let's go.
aunt, my cousin, my
Here's
other aunt,
everybody.
my this, my that, my friends, and like the first
Okay.
when I decided to actually embark on this journey, I went to Miami, stayed with family members. That's a whole story in itself. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to do free readings, and I want to say like 90% of those were like Lauren's referrals, and that's where I started to really like practice and train, and it was real, because I was like, maybe that was just a one-off. Like, I know it works for me and I'm always having these dreams and visions, and I know, but now it was like complete strangers that I'd never met, and people were in tears and they were like, what the hell? And then after a while, people kept coming back with the feedback. Oh, you said this was going to happen. It's happened. And sometimes it'd be like really extraordinary things. And I'd be like, I don't know what to tell you. And oftentimes when we do our readings together, like Lauren's making notes because I'm not really present. And we'll come back and it'll be like a year, 2 years later. And it's like, there it is. And so a lot of the training, understanding, development, even like the guides that come in, like Lauren's guides come in and connect with my guides. And it's just become like this huge, like, thing in both of our lives. Like, it definitely
Yeah.
controls both of our lives. And everyone that knows
Yeah.
me personally just are a part of this, to the point where people will message me and go, so this thing's happened. What do you think? And I'll be like, it doesn't work like that. It only works with Lauren
It's
like that. Like, you got to wait and see, babes. But
yeah.
it really is like just my whole life at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because my life's transformed in a way that so many times now, like my personal family does not question it one bit. Like they'll be like, "So what do your notes say?" Like it comes back to my notes. I'm like, "Get your nosy selves out of my notes." But
Yeah,
because they're so spot on, a lot of times in that moment, it makes absolutely no sense to us. Now there will be times where
yeah.
we're like, and
Yeah.
it's seemingly like very clear, but we're not always sure like the timeline of when things are going to happen. So even this
Yeah.
call, I feel like, was almost in our notes because there were
You had a
two what we
timestamp
called like we call them timestamps of like things that are said that we recognize. So the first one I'll just say is a reference to Field of Dreams. Shrill has never seen it. I'm slightly obsessed with Kevin Costner. And he shares a birthday with Kevin Hart and my partner. So, I mean, not Kevin,
is wild.
Cary Grant, Kevin Hart, Cary Grant and my partner. So they all have the same birthday. Love all three of them. So he said like Field of Dreams, and yesterday I'm just scrolling on Facebook, and there's someone wearing a Field of Dreams shirt, which is so random. So I screenshot it, and then the second thing was a clock tower in the notes. I checked it. I wrote down like Big Ben, and then today I'm on Target for the app for completely unrelated reason, and they're advertising a Lego set. And what are they advertising? London Skyline Lego set featuring Big
Big
Ben.
bet.
So, and then you're like, do you want to jump on? So I'm like, well, if this isn't leading up to
Yeah.
everything else. So sometimes it's really small and subtle. Like we think it's going to be something massive, but who's
Yeah.
to say this conversation
I mean, I'm
isn't
pretty
massive?
convinced now that we don't have to know, we just have to go, right? It's
Yes.
almost like, I swear I was heading for a nap and I was like, we had this conversation and I was suddenly energized and I was like, I need to go shower, get changed. We're doing this because this
Yeah.
just felt like it had to be done. And
Yeah.
I don't know who's watching this or who will watch this where this does something for them. Because one of the things that um, really helped me to decide to make the shift from doing like one-to-one consultations into group work is so that I can discuss past lives. Like I studied hypnotherapy many years ago. It was one of the first steps towards becoming a therapist before I moved into all of my spiritual work full time. And I have been obsessed with this since a small child. At one point, I was obsessed that I was convinced that I was my maternal grandmother reincarnated. And then I found out that she's just one of my guides and has this is where I inherited the gift from. But I just have this knowing I will not be told that it's not true. And there are other things where you might feel like a bit of imposter syndrome or like, I know people who are better at this and why would I talk about it? I need to talk about past lives. And whenever I do have a conversation about it, somebody always comes, I don't know how to explain this, but I'm sure I lived here at this time. I'm sure I was this thing. Like, you'll be born into this life with an affinity for something. And it'll be like, I don't know how I learned. Like, I can just play the guitar. What were you doing in a
Yeah.
previous life? Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is it so important? Well, one, we carry karma through lifetimes. We incarnate with karma. We have, like, the heart never gives up the memories, right? That's where the soul is. So we bring all of that in with us. But imagine that you're a soul that has a certain skill set or certain gifts and talents, and you've signed up or made an agreement to come into a certain lifetime where there's going to be a ton of suffering, or there's going to be like, I don't know, war or something where your talents and skill set are going to actually help people to live a better life. Of
Yeah.
course, you're going to have to bring that with you. It doesn't matter that you brought it from another lifetime, it's that you're present in this lifetime, in this generation, to use those skills and those talents to ease human suffering. And I believe that every human being has a purpose. I believe that all of us are in some stage of awakening or remembrance. And we all have a natural talent and affinity. And if you're confused about yours, like, message me, like, send me your birth data. I'll pull a chart and I'll tell you, not necessarily what your name was and what your career was, but I'll tell you what you're likely to have been through and what you're likely here to do in this lifetime. Because the most confusing thing in the world is like being forced into a career path or a lifestyle where you just feel inherently uncomfortable and you're constantly looking for or seeking this path that feels like it aligns with who you really are. And I just feel really fortunate that I wouldn't say I was given my freedom. I definitely fought for it because I'm very rebellious, but I was able to forge my own path and get to a place where I could use my skills and talents to be helping people in a way that really matters
Yeah.
rather than just making millions for these big media moguls. And don't get me wrong, I made a lot of money, but I've learned that that's not what matters. Like, it's peace, it's harmony, it's having a sense of like doing good in the world and just seeing people like blossom and evolve and move through the hardships and get to a place of just like self-acceptance and self-love. That's what actually matters. And so I just think we've got to talk about past lives more. And I know there
How
are
many
people on YouTube talking about it, but they're not talking about it the way we talk about it.
how many past lives do you think like we actually have? And is there like a point, like, and like, because timelines and stuff, right? So like, if we're
So
living like
it,
different
it,
lives, like how does that work?
well, it can be hundreds. And there are people who talk about people having lived in different dimensions, as in like on different planets and that sort of thing. I fully believe it. I'm
Do you
not a
think that's
Pleiadian.
more deja vu? Do you think like when someone's
No,
doing
I
that, is
think
that more deja vu?
no, I think it's very true for some people because if you think about it, the way we live is all about realms and frequencies, right? So just living on another planet is just another frequency.
Right.
So there are people who are like, they know that they were like Palladians or of the Palladians. I think I'm a Lemurian. Like I could be, no, I definitely am. Um, and then in terms of how many lifetimes, I don't know that there's a finite number, but you can,
Yeah.
for me, it's about 700. And that is just based on conversations I've had with like my guides and my spirit team. But I don't think that there's a finite amount. I think as souls, we decide or we agree to come into lives to do certain work. Like we are intentionally born into a generation to resolve karma, to resolve collective karma, not just personal karma. We are, I know that in my previous life to this life, I know exactly which family I was a part of. I actually met a client who was a part of that family and she really freaked out because it was all true and she had repeated many patterns in this lifetime. But I was effectively living almost like the diametrically opposing life to the one I'm living now,
Yeah.
but with that same skill set and the same like essence. So
Right.
now it's like I've come to almost like experience that just in a different body, a different culture, from a different background, but still deliver that into the earth and
Yeah.
still help people in the same way. So it's hundreds. And I think for people as well, if we remember that time is not linear, right? So you might think that you live your lives in order. Well, time's like a spiral staircase, right? So you can go forward, you can go back, you can go left, right. Like you will live lives based on the karma that you're here to resolve. And so if you have a soul contract around stealing, let's say you used to steal horses in a previous life and now you're stealing cars in this life, you will go to jail in this life. In a previous life, he was getting away with it. You've got to resolve that. So now you're probably going to sell cars or give cars away. I'm not saying that Oprah was a horse stealer, but you know what I mean. It's like
You
resolve
never
that
said
karma.
that.
Right. I'm so sorry for stealing all the horses. Here's a car. Um, so it's like if you need to resolve karma around war, you might go from this life back into a time of like intense war, right? And it's like thinking about the karma that you carry with you. And all karma is, it's not about crime and punishment. Karma is literally a build-up of habit, right? What are those patterns? Some of it is generational, coming from your ancestors. Others, you just did it over and over again in previous lives.
Yeah.
And if it's time to resolve that karma, then you're going to go into whichever life aligns with that particular, like that dominant karma that you're here to resolve. So I know that I've had lifetimes as a nurse. I'm pretty sure you have as well. We've spoken about it. But we're not nurses in this lifetime, but we're still all about healing,
No,
right? Yeah. Because you're like, not the
no,
blood and guts, right?
no.
But it's like we're still very conscious about healing and living your best life. But you're a Virgo moon.
Yeah,
Like Virgos sacrifice. They are in a previous life, a nurse would have been a strong, independent woman who wasn't married,
yeah.
right? That's your moon. Your moon tells you what your previous life or one of your previous lives could have been.
How soon do you think like it happens? Like it could it be in human time, right? In 3D Earth time. Is
Mhm.
it like a soul could leave a body and then like reincarnate into the next body like
Yeah.
instantly?
Yeah, so last week I had a series of dreams about a family member. They don't know because things like this people don't do well with. And in these dreams, I saw the progression of him losing his father and then gaining a grandson. So I know that he is going to have that happen at the same time, and it's likely that his father will reincarnate as his grandson.
Hmm. I saw an
Yeah.
article, it's probably like 2 weeks ago, where I think it was a 3 or 4 year old little boy
Yeah.
led investigators to his body from his previous life. Like
Yeah.
said, like he was murdered. This is where it was, and and it was like a cold case. No one had any information on it. And here's a 4 year old boy. So I guess like this is the podcast for me coming out with all these questions.
No,
So
this is great.
so so why are like we kind of cut off after a certain age? Because I know for me in my experience, especially with my youngest, there was a I can remember very specifically one moment with my oldest where I was like, holy crap, like what are you saying right now? But with my youngest, I felt, and I was also more awake and
Hmm.
attuned to what's
More
going on.
aware. Yeah.
She was saying stuff all the time, and the more I would just kind of not shut her down but question it, ask her more
Mm,
questions, these things come up. And now she's 11 and has zero memory of this ever
yeah.
happening. So is
Yeah.
there like a cutoff time, like when we just like 7, 8, 9? Like,
So it's not necessarily a cut-off time. I think children are such young souls as they come in that they still have some remembrance. So the mind is where we hold almost like thought memory, right?
yeah,
And that is ruled by Mercury. So the trauma of coming into a new life, that thought gets removed. But the emotional memory is in the heart, and that's what we stay with, right? That's where the soul is, and
right.
that's what we are like connected to. So because children are they're very strong, right? They've not been conditioned yet. No one's
Yeah,
telling them what to think. No one's hypnotizing them with TVs and computers and devices, and no one's overwriting their memory, the emotional memory. They can very easily and very quickly connect. You'll see children like telling you that they can see a spirit or a ghost and that they're having a conversation with granddad, and right, they're very attuned. Now, as we
yeah,
get conditioned more and more, which is very intentional with society, it becomes harder to remember or recollect or reconnect. Now, if
right,
we practice things like meditation, mindfulness, hypnosis, it then becomes easier again to get
right.
back into that state. So we almost have a duty, especially with our children, to give them the time and space to just be silent, just be on their own, just like daydream almost, and then just bring forth whatever comes to them and teach them to trust themselves. Because that's the other thing, is that people start to feel silly about it. Like, oh, I'm making it up. It's not true. I had a dream. It's nothing. Like trusting that intuition, trusting those messages. The more you trust it, the stronger it becomes, and the more you can recall almost.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the things that I like. I always throw back to you of like people are like, "Oh, you're such a good mom." I'm like, oh, "Thanks, Sherelle trained me," like because you've always given me these like great not even just like advice, but like tools to use for my kids. So when they
Yeah.
were saying to like what everyone else would say is like some off the wall shit, right? You're just like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Everyone else would be like, okay, you're like dive deeper, ask them
Yeah.
this, and then make them aware of what their own gifts are. And then you told me to help them not have it squashed by society, let them know it's like
Yeah.
their superpower. And we don't
Yeah.
tell everyone our superpowers. And my kids, I mean, I have a teenager right now, and she's my computer just talked to me. Um,
Oh,
she
okay.
still is like using some of the things that we were, kind of like the tools and advice we were giving her when she was 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
So and now as a teenager, she recognizes like, hey, I might not always understand why I feel this way, but I need to trust it. And I just think
Yeah.
like as a parent, I mean, I wasn't given that information as a child. I had to learn it in my late 20s and 30s through you.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really empowering to be able to give my girls that and nurture it from a young age because I
Hmm.
can only imagine how they're going to be in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and just
Exactly.
so much more aware, just self aware.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's all about just being able to like live relatively freely and with less fear and anxiety, right? Because the
Yeah.
signs can be really random, like the urges or the inspiration can feel strange. It's like, go book a ticket, jump on a plane, go here, do this, don't leave the house or whatever. But learning to trust that is like, that's your highest self communicating with you. That could be an ancestor, a spirit guide, an angel. It's like, there's something here for you to do that's really important. So you're being guided, you're being protected, but you're also being pushed, right? So it's like we should always just learn to trust all of that because it's not just like trust your gut. How does it feel? It feels like a washing machine. Well, that could be anxiety or it could be a genuine whatever.
Right.
But if you drive behind a car and you're seeing the numbers, pay attention. If there's a message, I literally drove behind a van yesterday and in my mind, I had asked a couple of questions, and the license plate said yes, ask YE558SK. And
Not five five.
I was like, I cannot. But it's like these messages will come to you as long as you're open,
Yeah.
right? And what have we got to lose? Nothing, but everything to gain.
How can we tap into like I know you said our moon is kind of like connected more with our like
So,
past life is there a way that like a journal activity or something that like we can do to kind of like get the mind and soul like talking to each other to like have remembrance other than just having
yeah,
these physical experiences of like walking down some staircases in Prague.
yeah, I'm being lit up.
Yeah.
Um, I think the easiest way for people to start is to really set an intention before you go to sleep and allow yourself to explore in the dreamscape. Our dreams are really powerful, very meaningful. And if you set the intention that you want to remember your dream, that you want to be shown signs, messages, inspiration, whatever it is that you're asking for, set that intention, keep a little journal beside your bed. As soon as you wake up, write down whatever you remember. The more you practice it, the more you'll remember. And then the more discerning you become because there's a ton of like symbols and signs that come up in dreams. But also, it's very easy to go back and kind of like access a past life through the dreamscape. So you will literally see yourself maybe dressed a certain way, maybe doing a certain activity, and you'll know it's you, but it will all be like really strange.
Right.
Trust it, write it down. And that's one of the easiest ways. Through the Mastering Soul Contracts program, I do past life regression through hypnosis. I provide tools where you can like sit on your own and meditate or go through self hypnosis exercises just to really bring those past lives back. But
Yeah.
what I'd say is, whatever signs you get, if you go on holiday somewhere or you just feel like a last minute trip, you end up somewhere random. Like I did that with my oldest daughter once, and we went to Rio in Brazil. I knew that I'd lived there before.
Yeah.
So just trust the knowing, trust the feelings, and really lean into it. Like explore a little bit, find out more about the culture, perhaps, and what happens in that place, and see if it resonates.
Yeah.
But the key thing is to like trust those feelings, trust that inner knowing.
Yeah. I like that. So and when you said dreams, like I feel like a lot of times it's like the reoccurring dreams too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I know for me,
100%.
like mine was like a traumatic dream, but then learning that it was more of like past life tied, I don't really have it as much. It was all, but I am in this one. It was a gas station blew up, and it had happened in multiple different ways. But
Hmm.
most part, I think it was me. So I've never smoked a cigarette in this lifetime, at
Yeah,
least, right? My mom was always very dramatic. I had asthma. She'd be like, "You will die," and I was like, "Oh my god, I will die!" Like, so I've never smoked a cigarette, but in this dream, it was always a cigarette smoker
yeah.
who, and it could have been me, threw the cigarette and like blew up the gas station. And what's interesting is when I was a
That'll stop you
child,
from smoking in another
yeah,
life.
right?
Yeah,
Like, and I
karma.
am I am so anal at gas stations. Like someone leaves the
Yeah,
car on while they're pumping the gas, I'll just reach over and turn it off. Like, well, not today. We're
yeah.
not having the gas station blow up today. But
Right.
I've because of that, it's almost like I had to make the awareness that that was probably
Yeah,
more past life and
yeah,
not
yeah,
so much like
yeah.
tied to this lifetime other than the cigarette.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's that intense emotion that doesn't really make sense, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
the emotion is what you remember, like that's the
Right. Oh yeah.
connection
Well,
rather
and
than a thought.
right at the gas station still like it triggers my entire body. Like it's not like, oh,
Yeah,
you shouldn't do that. It's not like a smack on the wrist. It's like, don't F with my life right now. Like
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm like, there's very few things I get like real serious about and use my voice for because
yeah,
otherwise I'm a little passive in that way. So
yeah.
that's one of them.
I just think that's really interesting because I think most people have that once they get familiar with a past life, they can recall an event or some
Yeah.
kind of like trauma. Like sometimes your phobias are related to that. It's like,
Mm.
I don't know why. I'm
Yeah,
afraid of spiders.
I don't
You might
mess
have
with
been bitten
fire.
with one.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I don't
So
start
that is
fires.
another
I
sign.
don't like grilling because of the heat on my face. Like I even taking stuff
Yeah.
out of the oven, I open the oven and I stand back. Like I don't like the feeling of
There you
heat in
go.
my face. And it's not like I just
Yeah.
don't like it. Like I really
Yeah.
don't mess with it.
And I know that you've got Jupiter in Aries, both. That's like a fire thing. So that could very easily
Yeah.
just be like a past life thing. But anyway, without getting too much into the astrology, um, I just want to say thank you for joining me. I really hope
Yeah.
people find this useful. Like, we have so much fun discussing our past lives and all the signs and all the little
These are
things.
like
Like,
our regular conversations.
this is like for
Sometimes
hours.
like 3 hours and we're just
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, I should probably eat now.
right. Just like, well, I always eat while you're talking.
I
So
know.
I'm eating, Laura's not eating, but that's my human design. But yeah, I just hope it's really useful. And I just really want to give people permission to explore. Like, if you feel something, if like something connects, don't ignore it. Like, there's a lesson in there for you, or just something that's going to really enhance your life. Like, I don't know, just like let yourself go there. If you're really curious, like, just subscribe. Like, I'm going to talk about this as much as possible. I'm going to be posting more. Obviously, like the astrology really helps. It's almost like the foundation and gives us confirmation on stuff, like the intuitive guidance and all the psychic abilities. They come from previous lives, right? This is why now I'm an old soul. Apart from the fact that this is something else Lauren and I share, is that we both worked as children, like very young. I came into this life old, like I've been tired. Do you know what I mean? And it's like you just know, and I don't have the energy of like a new soul who's like hyper energetic and really excited about everything. I'm like,
I can
more of
literally fall
this.
asleep in 3 minutes. Like lay me down and roll over and I'm done. Like
Yeah,
I'm a tired
yeah,
girl. I'm a sleepy girl. Like,
right. That's
I'm out
another
actually doing some
life.
work.
We've been here before, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the astrology helps, the intuitive guidance helps, but the ability to really just go there and allow remembrance, allow the signs, tap into a location is all going to really help you to bring your lives back. And once you can tap into specific lifetimes for specific karma and understanding, that will definitely inform where you're going in this lifetime. So don't be afraid of it. I know some people think, oh, that's just so woo woo and so weird. Well, call me woo woo and weird. I already know that. But I also know that understanding my past lives, understanding things like ancestry and heritage and why I'm like drawn to certain things has really informed the path that I'm on now. But even like things that I've done in the past that came very easily and very naturally were literally because of past lives. So we don't need
Yeah.
to reinvent the wheel, right? We just need to get
And
on path and live a really
and
like
even for
happy
those who
life.
even those for who feel like, oh, this is like spiritual and woo, it's also documented through science. The University of Virginia has an entire department where they are doing tons and tons of studies on past lives. So, and they
Yeah.
start with little kids and then like they'll follow them and as a teenager, and these kids have absolutely no idea. So, um,
Yeah.
this, I mean, it's like beyond like our spiritual, someone's like, oh, it's woo. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, universities are studying this. So,
100%. There are lots of like famous sources. There are like, there's just loads that we can talk about. And I'm sure we'll have another conversation because I just want to really keep um, going down this rabbit hole and just like informing people. I also want to really help people do their own exploration, right? I just really want to help people have the confidence. Like, the other thing I'll say is if you've had any kind of like religious programming, like we both come from a Christian background, that can be a bit of a block, right? Because oh, it's a demon speaking to you. It's not a demon. I'm not demonic. Like, I work with light energy, I block dark energy. But what I would say is, like, there's a reason that certain things have been kept from us, and there's a reason that there's certain programming through belief systems, because how powerful would we all be if we had the confidence of knowing in a previous life I was a general, I was a queen, I was a priestess, I did these things, I made certain things happen. And I'm not saying that everybody was like a ruler or a famous, like we weren't all Marilyn Monroe, right? Obviously. But just knowing that you survived certain things or that you were part of like something great that shaped the earth just gives you a different level of confidence and purpose and just like a knowing about yourself and a sense of being. We all need that sometimes. In those moments where we feel doubtful and like, what's the point? We just need to know that I'm here on purpose, with a purpose, and for a purpose.
for
And a lot
sure.
of that comes from understanding incarnation and past lives.
Just like I was
So,
royal and
yeah,
I need people to really start recognizing
you are
that.
so royal. You
So
are so,
royal. So royal.
so royal. Like,
Just
Queen Lauren of Light. It
these
just is
peasants
that
over here.
simple.
Yeah, need to recognize.
They need to know what time it is, baby.
Got to be my ground. No, I love this.
That's all I
I
have to say. Well, you are a queen. Your children are both Leo moons, right? Which means
yeah.
they have a royal mother.
Yes, they
And
know.
that's that on that.
They be knowing. Well, yeah, I hope
But
this is
yeah, so
helpful.
I just want to remind everyone, if you are a paid subscriber, I will be sharing the Zoom link shortly so you can jump on to my live. If you can't make it, there'll be a recording, it will be emailed out to you. And I will be talking about some of the changes in the work world, not just about what's happening, especially in the States, but what you can look forward to, how to know where to look in terms of your birth chart, how to understand what you're really aligned with career wise, and whether it's how you make more money, how you have more customers, how you go from a job to being self employed or building a business, or even just like how you can be happier in your work. I'm going to share all of that. We're going to talk about it because it's really important. And that understanding definitely changed my life. And I know it changes lives every day. So, yeah. So join me over there. And if you're interested in finding out more about mastering soul contracts, there'll be a post coming up very soon. I have posted previously where you can have a link, jump on a discovery call with me and find out if it's a good fit for you. But yeah, so thanks again for joining me, Lauren. Thank you, everyone that got on the live. I hope you found this interesting and useful. And everyone who's watching the recording, thank you so much for taking the time. And I'll see you all soon. Bye.